What's up and welcome back. I'm John Stark, MacMovieGuy.com, your favorite blind film critic, and today I'm going to talk about a movie that wasn't submitted for my consideration, but absolutely should be. This is Out of My Mind. Um, this is a film that is currently available on Disney Plus, starring Phoebe Ray-Taylor, who has a very interesting story herself. She's a young actress who actually does have cerebral palsy, playing somebody who is a nonverbal cerebral palsy character. So it's a breakthrough performance for Phoebe Ray-Taylor and a win for disability on screen, actually having somebody who has a disability that they're using playing that character. Um, Now the challenge is, what else can you find for Phoebe to do? You know, now that you've shown her in this, a lot of times Hollywood likes to bring up actors and they give a great performance that people are, we laud them for it. And then it becomes a struggle for them to figure out what to do with Troy Kotsur. You know, Best Supporting Actor, Oscar winner Troy Kotsur. You know, normally when somebody wins an Oscar, they go on and it really boosts their career. But when disabled actors start getting attention and awards, it doesn't always mean that for them. So while a lot of attention is being thrown at like Adam Pearson this year for A Different Man, I kind of wonder where he's going to go after A Different Man and whether or not Hollywood is ever actually going to use the ingenuity to cast people just because they're good actors. Uh, Peter Dinklage is the exception to the rule, a brilliant exception to the rule that I love a lot. But for so many actors like Phoebe Ray-Taylor, this may be the only thing she does because lack of casting imagination. We've also got Luke Kirby and Rosemary DeWitt, who play her parents here. Judith Light is also in this, as is Jennifer Aniston, technically, in a very cute way. And if you stay through the credits, they kind of have this neat exchange back and forth that I thought was adorable. But basically, because Phoebe plays a nonverbal character, she's using Jennifer Aniston's voice to externalize to the audience. The movie is about her finding a voice, basically, and she finds a voice through this assistive device. I love films that point out accessibility and the struggles. This is like anti-Blink. Like, I didn't like Blink because it didn't talk about why everything feels like it needs a bucket list, you know? But this film directly addresses the accessibility needs so that way you can actually, if this film moves you, you know what it is that people like her need and how to donate to make sure people like her get what they need. She even faces a barrier in this where she takes some sort of a test that the doctor initially says, you know, no, I can't recommend you for this device. And when you think about how frustrating that is, to have somebody who doesn't have the ability to communicate, and this device would allow them to do so many different things. Um, and it finally does, and it sort of transforms her life. It's definitely like a feel-good movie by the end of it, and I really loved it. I really love where the story goes. Yeah, it's emotionally manipulative, but we need emotionally manipulative stories every once in a while to bring light to stuff like this, as long as they're emotionally manipulative in the right way. What I'm saying here is that there isn't like a magic wand that's waved for her. She doesn't just, but it's also not sort of like sadness porn where like her life is just terrible. It seems to walk a really fine line that I liked a lot. Like it's not just the most depressing thing ever. She doesn't play a character that's like sitting around thinking about suicide or something like that for like 2 hours. She just is a sixth grader that has a lot of potential, loves to learn, wants to learn, but also wants a voice. And it's like there's a very intelligent person that's trapped inside this body, and it has no voice. And it's about finding that voice. And when she finds it, what does she do with it? How does she use it? And how does she subvert other people's expectations? And I think about this, and I think about how it's applied to like my disability and other people's disabilities and stuff like that. And this is what was missing so much in Disney's documentary Blink, which is the okay, so how do we keep it from feeling like these kids have no future? You know, how do we change that? What is it that we can do to change it? Uh, I said that was like the Free Willy of documentaries, because the whole movie, like Free Willy, is all about getting the shark out of the not the shark, the whale out of the tank, and everybody felt really good, and they're like, oh my god, and Jason James Richter was standing there with his hand up in the air, and he's like, yeah, Willy. And then they made like two more Willy sequels, so Willy was never really free. And then there were still killer sharks and tanks and people swimming with them. It wasn't until Blackfish where they presented you with the actual problem of, oh, this is what happens when you put people in tanks with killer sharks, by the way. Heads up, that there was any change. And still today, there are still killer sharks in tanks. So, did Free Willy do anything other than make people feel good? Because they thought they freed Willy? No, it didn't. Here, Out of My Mind actually shows you and it's like, okay, so there's this assistive technology device that people like her need. If you feel so motivated, you could help, uh, you know, you can find a charity and donate to the cause to make sure that people, because obviously it's an expensive device. That's the thing about assistive technology is I even have friends who are like, oh, dude, did you see this? And I'm like, yeah, it's $5,000. Uh, you know, I, I, I don't have that kind of money. And no, not everything is covered by insurance. Um, so yeah, like there are lots of things that are, but man, those companies, they want the money that they invested in it. So um yeah, there are things out there that could make our lives marginally better, but sometimes they're really expensive, like this device that she needs. So and then it also deals with a lot of the other aspects of it. And man, dude, and I know that they were going through that because I've been there too. I've been through situations too where where my disability and stuff has gotten in the way, and I've been like, fuck it, I'm just going to be the nice person in this room. I can stand here and fight, or I can just get from point A to point B. But man, when she's rushing through that airport and they're like, you're going to have to carry her, I was like, fuck you. That is her chair. That's an extension of her body. She can't walk. They're very clear about that. That TSA agent is no. They have other ways of being able to do that. That is, I'm pretty sure, illegal, actually, to require that a wheelchair bound person be um, sort of indignantly removed from from their chair. I just whatever. Anyway, um, we've taken things a little bit too far. Like we all joked about the small bottles and stuff like that. When we have to start lifting wheelchair bound people out and carrying them through so that TSA feels better about their lives, um, find a better way to do your job, sir. But and she kind of has a speech at the end where she's like, you know what? There are always these obstacles, and she's used to it. Like she's always used to like a broken elevator, which means she can't go upstairs, which is something they addressed in Sex Education, which is something I really liked, is the lack of accessibility and how that school could have fixed that elevator a long time ago. And how that guy was like, no, I don't want to be carried upstairs, you know? Um, so yeah, it's definitely a documentary, and not, it felt like a documentary. It's definitely a movie that I really enjoyed. Might even end up on my top list of the year. I don't know, that's because I have a very specific vantage point, but I think that's true of a lot of people who have very specific vantage points. The thing about being a disabled film critic is that sometimes I gravitate towards films about disability, and when I think they've done it right, and I think there's a purpose and a reason to talk about it, I have no problem, giving it the lean. Like, which is one of the reasons why when I say I don't like Blink, you should hear that and go, wait, why doesn't the blind film critic like Blink? um, so yeah, I did like this, and I hope that for people who have this specific disability, that this doesn't feel like Blink does to me, because I see the problem, but I also see the solution at the same time. I also see it offering and showing the why things are a problem instead of just showing somebody suffering, or with no end in sight, with like no, you know. Um, as far as the acting goes, obviously I enjoyed most of Phoebe's performance through her um, through audio description and through the narration of Jennifer Aniston, both of which I appreciated greatly. She does use the assisted device later on, which gives her a voice. Uh, and I'm sure she did a wonderful performance. There are times where she's able to make some kind of noise, and you can hear her reacting in sort of the more heated moments of the movie. So I wish her the best. I would put her down. I don't know. I still have votes for stuff. If I can vote for breakthrough performer, I might put Phoebe Ray Taylor for this, just to see if we can will this into existence. But Luke has a beautiful moment in this that is like absolutely heartbreaking. Um, and I loved it. It's the first time he's there for the first time when she uses the device, and it's like the first time that he hears her say anything to him, and he doesn't even like skip a beat in that moment. And I just thought he did a great job. He was fantastic on The Marvelous Miss Maisel. So I'm really glad that he's continuing to get good work. Obviously, Rosemary DeWitt, I love her. She's been doing great work for years. She has some really nice moments here. Um, the lady that played the assistive aide was a different actress than I thought it was, which makes it harder for me to remember her name. But I really liked her. It sounded like it was somebody else to me, but then when I looked it up, I was like, oh no. So it's a newer actor, a fresher actor than who I thought it was. But yeah, that's I can't recommend this enough. The audio description is not good, not great. There's this thing that's happening where Disney is paying a company, and they did it with Dream Productions, where the audio quality is coming in at a poor quality. This is not the same level as, and it's not that it's poorly written. I didn't. The thing is, it's the same thing I felt about Dream Productions. It's really solidly written. I don't have as much. I thought Dream Productions, the narrator, was a little bit flat. This one is fine. She's a young girl, sort of doing a. She sounds really young, and she's doing a young voice, but the audio quality on it is so poor. It's like, what is it coming through? What was before mono? This sounds like it sounds like somebody's across the room and they have like their cell phone up or something, but it's not even on speaker. And I'm like, listen, I'm like listening to like, it's very poor. And then I turn on something like Skeleton Crew, and it's like, oh, well, you paid for the good stuff for here, I guess, you know. But I just, the thing is, like, it might be the company, it might be Disney. I don't know what the problem. I don't know what the disconnect here is. If it's the company, then stop working with the company that's providing you low quality recordings, because the rest of it is fine. It's human narrated and it's well written. It just needs to sound like uh like the same quality as their other products. Like, I shouldn't, if I shouldn't have a wildly different thing. If I marathon Skeleton Crew into Out of My Mind, I shouldn't feel like the audio description is like, whoa, they skipped on the budget here. Out of My Mind. Um, so that's kind of what it felt like. I wish this was getting more attention. It actually has a pretty decent IMDb score, and so I think audiences are reacting to it, which is good. So, um, But I'm giving Out of My Mind an A. I like this movie. Every once in a while, I get a movie on Disney Plus or a streaming service that I really like. I really liked Disney Plus did Better Nate Than Ever. I really enjoyed that movie. So every once in a while, they swing one out of the park as a Disney Plus original. So Trevor the Musical was really good too. Um, that's it. Thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing, and I will see you guys on the other side.